Well, hello once again, everyone. This is Roger coming to you from Brickhouse Guitars here in Kitchener, Ontario. And this is one of two brilliant new guitars from a young builder who is kind of really impressing me. I just recently met him. He came to visit. He brought a few guitars with him. He's from Northern Ontario. His name is Zach Lefebvre, and he calls his guitars Treehouse guitars. And that's very appropriate because he lives on a piece of property that's, well, 100 acres, and he's off grid, lives with his wife and his 3-year-old, in a cabin off grid. And he gets to build guitars and experience nature. Zach studied about 13 years ago. He finished his studies with Sergey DeYoung, who's one of Canada's most renowned and even worldwide acclaimed guitar builder and teacher. And he actually stayed with Sergey and apprenticed there for a while. So he learned from a master. Certainly was greatly influenced by Sergey DeYoung, but this guitar is truly his own design. And so he's gone for his own voice. Just love how elegant this is and how nice it feels in your hands. All of these curves, the round, the extremely rounded black binding purfling combination here, the sound port, the oil finish, the waist that comes in. This is an OM size guitar. He calls it the OMZ, and this is number 62. So he's built about 65 guitars now. So as I said, I have taken photographs, and I've trying something new here. I actually, with the help of technology, invited Zach to help me describe the guitar. So as we go through the photos that I'm going to show you, Zach is going to join in and comment and answer some questions that I had for him about the guitar. So why don't we do that? Then, of course, I'll come back and noodle and then do my standard demo. Well, hey again, Zach. I have a second guitar of yours that I'd like for you to help tell our audience about. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me again. I'm looking forward to going through the photos.
All right, here we have another one of your beautiful OMZ models, and tell us a little bit about it, please.
Yeah. So this is my take on an OM size guitar, an OMZ or OMZ, and it has a Western red cedar top, and the back and sides are African wenge, which I really like that combination of wenge and cedar. It works really nicely together.
It sure does. Yes, awesome tone wood. So I like to start with the headstock. Tell us a little bit about your new design.
Yeah, I kept a little bit of the end of the headstock curve is similar to my old design, so I tried to keep that in it. And then the sides and the overall shape is, I think, more modern. I quite like it, especially on the back, which we'll see later with the
Yeah.
volute.
Yes, it's very, very nice. So you have an ebony onlay there with this magnificent inlay, and that is copper, I understand.
That's right. Yeah. So all my guitars have copper inlays in them, and they are hand patinated in my shop. So basically, I take chemicals. I get to be all mad scientist-y, and but this one is in particular. This guitar, all the copper was patinated using heat, so a torch to get sort of a rainbow effect, which goes nicely with the dark woods, I think.
It surely does. It's beautiful, and it's so unique because every one is a unique piece, work of art.
Yeah,
Um, so there we have a view of your nut, and your spacing there, I believe, is 1 3/4.
yeah, that's the width of the nut. Yeah.
Excellent. So we'll move up. Of course, your fingerboard is ebony. What material do you use for your little circular position dots?
Those are copper tubes, so little cross sections of a copper tube, and that matches the miniature tube inlays on the edge of the fretboard too. So it's
Lovely.
mirrored there. Mhm.
Nice touch.
And then the binding that I use is Rocklight, So you can see it on that picture. That, and I use a combination of rocklight binding with black purfling strips, um, basically to make it look thicker, and then that allows me to round over the binding quite a lot so that all edges of the guitar are rounded and comfy. So you
Yes.
don't get that the cut in your arm after playing for hours.
Front and back, and it really alleviates the necessity to have a bevel.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, beautiful.
thanks.
Well, that brings us to your beautiful top here. Tell us a bit about this piece of wood.
This Western red cedar came from a friend of mine. Uh, I actually took a trip out west, visited some friends on Sonora Island, which is near Vancouver Island, and this cedar was salvaged from a log, a floating log. Um, my friend has a salvaging license, so he was able to um, basically salvage it and send me home with some pieces. And this piece is has really lovely, subtle bear claw in it, and it's also super stiff for cedar, so it
Yes.
works well.
Nice, nice. Well, this brings us to your lovely rosette. A few words on that, maybe?
Yeah, I've been using this design for quite a while now. I like the broken rosette. I've always been a fan of asymmetry in design. You can see my back braces aren't straight across. Um, the rosette, I like to be able to see that top wood go all the way to the edge of the sound hole. And I also like using the effect of the human brain and how we automatically, if we see a broken circle in our brain, we actually complete the circle. It's kind of, I find that fascinating. So, and then the bevel on the edge of the sound hole is a nice, I think, a nice touch as well.
Very elegant. Yes, indeed. So this brings us to the bridge design. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the bridge design, I mainly went with this sort of design for weight reduction because I find that a lighter weight bridge makes a livelier sounding guitar. It makes sense. So I've been trying to lighten my bridges, and the shape of the bridge, the wings on the ends, reaches out to the X brace, which is important structurally, and then the wider part of the bridge, where the bridge pins and the saddle are, coincide with a couple braces that are on the inside of the guitar. So yeah, so on those two braces that go from the bridge plate down to the cross brace, um, basically take the torquing motion of the bridge and transfer that to the central portion of the lower bout between the bridge and the base of the guitar, which in most guitars, that area, it's not very active closer to the tail block. So this is a way for me to maximize that area acoustically.
Wow, put some thought into that. Well,
Yeah,
eventually, when we hear the guitar, we'll probably be believers because at least I am. Sounds amazing. So
oh,
good on
thanks,
you for
thanks,
innovating.
thank you.
Uh,
Thanks.
so this, before we get to the back of the guitar, of course, you believe in sound ports, and any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love sound ports. I include them in guitars unless somebody doesn't want them, basically. So that's how much I like them. And the main thing for design wise, I just try to make them not too big. So this is the size that seems to work really well with my designs. If you make too big of a sound port, it's going to rob some of the bass from the guitar.
Very good. So here we've turned the guitar around, and we're at the back of the headstock, as you mentioned. And I really love how that looks with that flute and personalized signature. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, thanks. The signature, the idea of the signature is mainly so that I don't have to put a big ugly logo on the front of the headstock. So it's like a subtle way of putting my mark on the guitar.
Very good. And we can see there your finish is it's a natural finish and it's done with oil.
Yeah, this is Osmo oil, which I've used for quite a few years now. I love it. It adds very little mass to the wood, so it creates a really lively sounding guitar. It's used for hardwood floors, so it does add some durability, but not quite as much as like a film finish.
I see. And now we're at the heel, and this is a bolt-on system that you use. Any quick thoughts?
Yeah, that the bolt-on necks, it's fully bolt-on, so there's 3 bolts that hold the whole neck on, and that just fits with my my idea of guitars being sustainable and lasting a long time and being serviceable. So it's really easy to, if you ever have to do work on the neck, it's basically 3 bolts and it's apart.
It makes all the sense in the world, and the joint is way tighter anyway, so it's just
Yes.
win-win-win.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, here we are at the back of the guitar. This a lovely set of Wenge, and Wenge is one of my favorite woods. And any comments about how you feel about this particular set or Wenge in particular?
Well, I love it in terms of uh, it's way more sustainable than a lot of the exotic woods. And I've heard Irvin Samoji compare um, Wenge to Brazilian rosewood, saying it was very similar in sounds. And I totally believe it. It does ring really nicely. The other nice thing is it's so easy to find Wenge that's perfectly quarter sawn and straight grained.
Nice, nice. Well, we're just zooming in here to see that additional inlay that you've done there with your copper, and that's pretty sweet. It's just really so unique. I love that. And there's a continuation, and I guess that would be ebony for the wedge.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then more of your beautiful copper. So, boy, that sure is sleek. And you can see a bit more there, your rounded edges too of your bindings, which is really a nice feature. Very sort of a signature feature, but it's like, as you said, very, very comfortable.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our last photo. And again, you can see that beautiful binding and the sound port, your fit and finish. Congratulations. The guitar is extremely well crafted.
Thank you.
I love how elegant the design is. It's very tasteful. Compositionally, it's very balanced. So congratulations on building such a fine instrument. And
Thanks so much.
Well, hey, thanks to Zach again for helping me out with that. I think that's something I want to do more of in the future. I think it's really cool when we get to know the builder. Makes it so much more personal. Like there is like I said, a piece of everyone's life that goes into the building of these instruments. So, yeah, I had tuned it in DADGAD before when I was trying it out, and I left it in DADGAD. And I guess I will noodle in DADGAD because that's where it is. It actually is quite excellent. You can hear that Wenge really brings out that articulation, of course, great sustain. serious guitar, absolutely. Let me tune it up to my standard pitch and do my standard demo for you. Cheers. Well, that indeed is very, very nice. Thank you again for watching. Cheers, everyone.